Okay, so today we're putting on our detective hats to investigate a real literary mystery, the absolutely phenomenal success of Agatha Christie. I mean, she's the best-selling novelist of all time, the undisputed queen of crime. But how on earth did she do it? Let's start digging into the evidence. First things first, let's just get our heads around the scale of this case. We're talking more than 2 billion books sold. To put that into perspective, in the entire history of writing, only Shakespeare and the Bible have sold more. That one single, staggering number, well, that's our central puzzle. So how does a woman from a pretty conventional background who was mostly homeschooled end up creating a literary empire that's still going strong a century later? The answer isn't some single, simple secret. It's actually a series of clues scattered all throughout her remarkable life. So come on, let's follow the trail. Our investigation begins where all good mysteries do, in the past. The very first clues to Christie's genius are hiding in her formative years. You see, Christie was mostly educated right at home in a house that was just stuffed with books. She said her childhood was very happy, but she also spent a ton of time alone, creating these incredibly detailed worlds with her imaginary friends. This is where that powerful imagination really took root. By the time she was a teen, she'd read everything from Dickens to, crucially, Arthur Conan Doyle. She wasn't just reading for fun, she was absorbing the very architecture of a good mystery. But here's the thing, Christie didn't just rely on her imagination. Her own life experiences became this sort of real-world laboratory for her, where she could cook up some of the most ingenious plots ever written. During the First World War, for instance, Christie volunteered. And she didn't just do it for a few weeks. She worked over 3,000 hours in a hospital pharmacy. It was right there that she qualified as a dispenser, and that gave her this intimate, professional-level knowledge of chemicals, dosages, and, most importantly, poisons. And that experience had a direct result you can see all over her work. Poison became her signature weapon. It's the murder method in more than half of her novels. And because she knew it inside and out, it wasn't some vague literary magic. It was real-world expertise that made her plots so incredibly convincing. Later on, after her first marriage ended, Christie found love again with an archaeologist named Max Mallowan. Now, this relationship didn't just bring her happiness, it literally opened up the entire world to her. She went with him on his expeditions, spending months at a time on archaeological digs in places like Iraq and Syria. And this wasn't just a vacation, it was research. A stay at a fancy hotel on the Nile? That becomes the setting for Death on the Nile. A trip on the world's most famous train? You guessed it, Murder on the Orient Express. Her first-hand experience on a dig site gives this rich, authentic backdrop for murder in Mesopotamia. She was writing what she knew, and her life was way more adventurous than her quiet public persona ever let on. But Christie's life wasn't just a source for fiction. At one point, it contained a profound mystery of its very own, one that made headlines all over the world and is still debated to this day. Okay, so get this. In December 1926, she's dealing with her mother's death and finds out her husband is having an affair. And then she vanishes. Her car was found abandoned, which kicked off this massive manhunt. For 11 days, the world's greatest mystery writer was at the center of a real-life whodunit. When she was finally found in a hotel, she claimed she had no memory of how she even got there. Now, the official story was a genuine fugue state, basically temporary amnesia brought on by all that stress. But other theories have been floating around for decades. Was it a clever plan to shame her unfaithful husband? A desperate cry for help? We'll probably never know for sure, which makes it a chapter of her life that's just as puzzling as any story she ever wrote. Okay, so we've looked at the clues from her life, the incredible imagination, the hands-on expertise, the wild experiences. Now let's get to the solution, how she turned all of that into a formula for success that absolutely captivated millions. Christie basically perfected a blueprint. First, you get the closed circle. A contained setting like a country house or a train, with a limited number of suspects. Second, misdirection. She expertly plants clues and red herrings, turning you, the reader, into the detective. And finally, the grand reveal, where the detective gathers everyone for a big theatrical conclusion. It's a structure that's not just smart, it's deeply satisfying, because it takes a world of chaos and restores it to perfect, logical order. Now, she didn't invent the genre, but she absolutely came to define it. This was the golden age of detective fiction, a time when a mystery novel was seen as a fair play puzzle between the writer and the reader. And in that game, Agatha Christie was, and still is, the Grand Master. Her formula was so powerful that her legacy goes way beyond the page. It's embedded itself into our culture in a way that very few authors ever manage. Her cultural footprint is just immense. Beyond the books, you've got over 30 feature films, countless TV series, even video games. And according to UNESCO, she is the single most translated author in history. That just shows you how universal the appeal of her puzzles really is. And then there is The Mousetrap. This play opened in London in 1952 and has been running ever since. It's the longest-running play in the history of the world. That's just the ultimate proof that the Christie formula is simply irresistible. I think this quote really reveals the secret ingredient to her success. She wrote about what truly fascinated her. Her passion for archaeology, for psychology, for intricate puzzles. It all came from a genuine curiosity about the world. She wasn't just writing mysteries, she lived a life that was full of them. And, that really brings us to the final takeaway. Christie's life teaches us that expertise and inspiration can be found anywhere, in a wartime pharmacy, on a foreign train, or even inside our own families. It's a powerful reminder to just pay attention. So maybe the lesson is to look at our own lives and ask ourselves, what seemingly ordinary experience holds the clue to an extraordinary story?